8:25. It's been the friend of insomniacs, shift workers and news addicts for 38 years. Today, though, marks the very last day of the BBC's information service, Ceefax.
Yes, viewers in Northern Ireland will be the last to see the analogue service in action as they make the switch to digital television this week.
In a moment, we'll speak to a former Ceefax journalist, but first, let's take a step back into the multicoloured archives.
And it's all done at the touch of a button. Ceefax, a name manufactured from Seeing Facts.
The present output of Ceefax is roughly 50 pages.
Ceefax's facility to update information quickly makes it a complimentary service.
60, 70, 80, 24, 5, 24 points, so 24 points.
All that is just the beginning. And looking even further ahead, there's the really exciting possibility of using a domestic television receiver as a home computer terminal.
It's nice to meet you.
William Gallagher's a former Ceefax journalist and joins us now. You're telling us you've written how many pages?
15,000, and I remember them all.
How many? how quickly could you write them?
Oh, a couple of minutes on a news story. It was only 70 words. It was very technically difficult, but you got into the rhythm of a quick headline and very fast stories.
And you got to be very clear and concise, right?
Yes.
I mean, broadcast writing's all about being concise, but particularly in your case.
Excessively so. I mean, Twitter in comparison seems so easy now to do. And I write books now, and the difficulty is not writing it in 70-word chunks and things like that.
How do you feel today when we know that it's going to be switched off for the last time? Is it something that you mourn?
I do, actually, but I'm also, I mean, I'm a very sad person. It was a good part of my career, but I was a reader as well. But I'm also really, I'm proud of it, and the outpouring of interest from people today. I mean, all these years, I haven't worked there a lot since about 2004, but as late as last week, I'll get tweets from people out of the blue saying they remember not just Ceefax, but my pages.
Did you sign? Were they signed?
Some of them. I launched a certain section that had a byline on it, so I became
Which
known.
was that?
I did the DVD reviews. We had no clips, no stills, no interviews, but it was there.
People still email you about Ceefax pages you wrote 8 years ago.
What is it? Ceefax really gets a hold of people, and I don't know what else does.
So is there a not a secret, but a sort of low-level Ceefax community?
There is a cult. You mentioned the music earlier that was played last night. There are fans who collect the music. Ceefax proper, when you called up a page, had no music, but overnight on BBC Two, when they'd run it, there would be this strange music, and we'd get calls and emails saying, what was that piece playing at? And we had no idea.
You didn't know what it was?
No idea. At first, I didn't know there was any music at all, but there are actually CD collections of it, apparently.
It's funny because it was one of those things which just seemed, you know, as the internet and digital services developed, Ceefax became more and more old-fashioned looking. It didn't kind of develop its graphics in step with other digital services, did it?
No, it was never pretty, but there were technical limits. There was very little you could do, and they really used that for it. I mean, the internet killed it in the end, but the first bullet really was something like digital television. The great thing about Ceefax was whatever you were watching, you press a button and there was the news. But after digital, you'd have to switch off satellite, switch off cable and go to it, and it just stopped.
Well, it was hugely useful in its day. I remember my first job in local radio, we used Ceefax as our reference for so much stuff.
Relied on it.
William, thanks very much.
Did you ever insert little jokes?
I did do a little nod to my wife on my last day.
Did you?
Yes.
Cheeky.
William Gallagher, the end of Ceefax. Coming up, the BBC News Channel has the latest news from home and abroad.
Here on Breakfast, though, why